Welcome to episode 33 of Logicast, the AWS News podcast brought to you by Logicata. I'm Karl Robinson, CEO and co-founder of Logicata, and I'm joined by my colleague, John Goodall. How are you doing today, John?
Pregnant pause again.
It was
it's
an
not so
this
bad.
time. Got an you didn't get the pause.
I'm all right. I'm recovering from yesterday because I was at the AWS On Tour event that the developer relations, I don't know what the job title is, team did.
Developer
Advocates, that's
advocate.
the one.
Yeah.
So that was a long day because it was a full day of sessions, and then a networking thing in the evening, and so I'm recovering.
Good. So we're not getting the best of you today, then? Is that what you're trying to say?
I don't know if it'll pick up on the microphone.
I'm sure it won't. And then we're also joined today by a very special guest from the AWS Community Builder Program, Igor Soroka. So, Igor, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you. Probably I won't have this cold start because I haven't been to any events, but I'm planning to go on the AWS on tour because in Barcelona there will be one, and I'm happy that I can go there. But they mismatched the address and it's hard to find actually. So it's a riddle, we need to find out what's the place.
Oh, I see. Maybe that's why there wasn't many people there at the London one then, John, because they couldn't find it.
Well, it was funny because there was not a huge number of people for the sessions, and Matthias did kind of admit that they dropped the ball on the promotion and the marketing and what have you. And then the evening comes around for the networking special, and the place just filled up. There was like 30, 40 people. There was no pizza.
Oh,
it was not pizza. It was food, but it was not pizza. So there was like chicken salads and cheese and crackers, and it was all very posh. It's not the usual meetup fare.
Oh, well, I'd be interested to see their feedback forms then. So whether that went down well or not. So anyway, Igor, tell us a bit about yourself. Where do you come from? What do you do for a living?
I'm from Finland, and I have spent many years working as a software developer / engineer. Then I have started as a contractor freelancer basis. I have been working with global antivirus companies like F-Secure from Finland. It's one of the most known there cybersecurity firms, which was kind of awesome to be into the space even before the COVID hype, and when everybody started from every fridge, there was some discussions that we need more cybersecurity. And from there, I started working remotely, decided to move to Barcelona, and recent year I spent with the UK clients and hoping to improve the e-commerce in the UK with the Lambdas and event-driven architectures, which are my main focus. And I'm AWS Cloud expert with 7 certificates already. The latest one is cybersecurity one, which is a security specialty. So I'm a big fan of badges and these kind of things. I think we have a discussion about this today.
Nice.
So thank you.
Two questions for you then. One, does the F of F-Secure stand for Finland?
I think so, yes. No, they are trying to change it. They're trying to change it. It was like in 95 or something, the start of the company. But it was interesting that how the company redeveloped themselves and made a bigger effort on the cloud and became not only experts in the consulting cybersecurity one, but also like more home-based products for the B2C and everything. But it's evolving thing. I would say it's not Nokia, but Nokia is also another story.
Yeah. Well, there we go. I've learned something. I didn't know F-Secure was a Finnish company, and I never knew what the F stood for. So I've definitely learned something today. It's always good to learn something new every day. The other question I had for you was, you've got 7 certifications. That only leaves 5. Will we be seeing Igor Soroka in a gold jacket anytime soon?
I think it won't fit me right because golden is not my thing, and I'm not in LA. Maybe it's not so well suited for where I'm hanging out. So
I think it would look great on the beach in Barcelona, to be honest.
It will be reflecting the sun at least.
Definitely,
which is quite cool. I'm not planning now because I think the main problem that the specialty exams, they are shorter in the duration, so it should be like done in 1 year, basically in one go, almost. I would say I'm planning to get into networking because it's super important, and database is also one of the focuses for myself.
Well, we'll keep an eye on your social channels, Igor, and see how those certs keep coming along. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Igor's Barcelona beachwear. As regular listeners to the podcast will know, we are here to talk about AWS news. So once a week, I collate a list of AWS news, which I share via my weekly AWS News Roundup newsletter. Then John and I, together with our guest, pick a subset of those articles that we would like to talk about on the podcast. So the first article we'd like to talk about this week is a post on the AWS Compute blog entitled AWS SAM support for HashiCorp Terraform now generally available. And I think, John, we did speak about this a little while ago when it went into preview, but now that it has gone into general availability, I guess it's worth talking about again. And I know it's something that Igor is keen to talk about as well. So Igor, why don't you start us off on this one about the AWS SAM support for Terraform?
Yeah, I think the main important here that SAM supports Terraform and makes the Terraform is also one of the focuses for AWS. And I think a couple of things which are important, like interesting here, that, for example, Terraform changed the licensing. That means that did they think about already the complications and confusion which could take it or not? It's an interesting, I think, topic to discuss. So what do you think? Will the Terraform change the licensing? Really, the support of the SAM, will it somehow be changed because of the licensing? What do you think?
No, I don't think so. So the license thing, I don't want to get into it in any great depth because it's just a big can of worms. But the short version is, unless you're building something on top of Terraform, you're not impacted as it currently stands. The way I read this is not that SAM is using Terraform per se, it's that SAM is able to do local invocations for Terraform managed resources, a set of them, not like everything. But if you've deployed your Lambda through Terraform, one, you have my sympathies because it's horrible. But SAM can do local invoke for that. So, I mean, as you say, AWS have kind of shown a bit of a commitment to HashiCorp to an extent. Yeah. Terraform is one of their tools, and certainly at the sessions yesterday, people were using Terraform in some of the sessions and talking about it, and they're a key partner and all that jazz. So it feels like growth from AWS, and I probably said this when it came out in preview and we were speaking about it back then, that they've accepted that people will want to use tools that aren't their tools, but they still kind of need to meet their customers where they are. And in some cases, that's doing things with Terraform that I think you shouldn't do, but doing things with Terraform and then giving you the ability to run those things locally using their frameworks that they've built.
I think this makes SAM more approachable for the wider community, of developers who are using not only AWS tools. So you don't need to use just CDK or CloudFormation. You can use whatever you're using, in this case Terraform, which is, I think, great. But one other important thing which I noticed here, that in the general availability, they want to use the serverless.tf open source implementation for serverless, which made by Anton Babenko, and it's a great open source initiative. He has made so many different modules for Terraform to improve the developer experience of developing with Terraform. But they made it with a highly opinionated framework, I would say, that which seems strange. So they will put it into more of the focus. That just use the serverless.tf. You cannot use the just
no, that's
normal.
Not true.
Serverless.
That's not true. So it says this. It's a little bit buried, I'll give you that, but it's kind of a throwaway line. The blog uses serverless TF so that they don't have to write so much code and boilerplate code, and it makes the blog easier to digest and all the rest of it. But you can go off and use native Terraform resources. You just got to do the legwork and do a bit of digging. The opinionated thing is a funny one for me because Terraform is one of the least opinionated tools out there, which means you have to make the most decisions. SAM is a fairly opinionated tool, which means you're not making the decisions. So I don't think it's out of character for them to use an opinionated tool with an opinionated tool.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think that's using SAM CLI. It's kind of cool, great to use it because you can start your local development and try API gateways. I really enjoyed that it supports this authorizers, for example, and mock events for the authorizers. I mean, together and. I think also so that which SAM could detect a couple of functions if there are many, if there are not only one, so you can choose what functions are there. And I think it's pretty easy to set up because they use SAM config, or you can do it through like SAM CLI. And if you're a seasoned professional with SAM, you already know how to do all these things because it's supported in a similar fashion. So I think one other thing which I really enjoy that it uses the SAM logs, and you can check logs from your local machine and tail them, which I really think like it. And yeah, I think it will make it closer to the way that you can still use Terraform and do local development, and it will accelerate your local development with the support of Terraform. Because, for example, I have used SAM even with CDK, which was also very valuable for local development and developing some of the features. But I think in similar fashion, like using Terraform, I think it's also kind of neat way of improving the developer experience. So I think they push more forward this thing. But it's interesting, as you said, that having the customer feedback. So who will be really using it, or will they?
I guess we'll see.
Did it come up at the tour day yesterday?
This specifically, no. Local development of serverless a little bit, to be honest, because people talk about testing frameworks and things. It's like, yes, we hear you. It's getting better. It's coming. Yada yada yada.
And do you think they'll support the open source fork of Terraform? I forget what that's called.
OpenTF. I mean, OpenTF at the minute is just a manifesto, so it's not even a proper fork. And I mean, yeah, they forked the code now, but it's still weeks to months away from being viable.
And the other question I have, which is sort of on topic, but why is Sam a squirrel?
Why not?
I suppose so. But yeah, the sticker. I do like the sticker for Sam. It's a squirrel, but just wondering how Sam got to be a squirrel.
I think Eric Johnson just loves squirrels. Maybe this is the point. He's biggest advocate of Sam, at least.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, they are pretty cute. I have a lot of them in my local park, and people do tend to stand around staring at them for a while. So yeah,
it's alliterative, Sam the squirrel.
Sam
Maybe
Squirrel.
the squirrel's called Sam.
Yeah. Well,
I think they need to propagate it more, like the Sam the squirrel. I like it.
Yeah.
Maybe they could include it in the continuation of the Cloud Quest with Sam the squirrel. You can.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if that's why it is a squirrel, because the squirrel will be an animated character in AWS training coming to you soon. So
it will be like AWS universe, like DC or Marvel, and there will be like these characters. This will be super fun because services and frameworks, they need more of these kind of things, because how many do we have? More than 200, and also all these tools which are supporting. So it would be great to see this kind of development into graphical novels.
So are there any other characters in animal form for other products, or is Sam Squirrel the only one? I don't know.
It's the only one I know of, certainly in AWS. Like Golang has a gopher. There's a raccoon for various Microsoft things.
Well, maybe we need to investigate that and delve a bit deeper on another episode. Anyway, let's move on now from SAM, Terraform, and squirrels to our second article for this week, which is from the AWS Cloud Operations and Migrations blog. And the title is Centralized Dashboard for AWS Config and Security Hub. So this is very much a how-to. The article walks you through how to set up a centralized dashboard for Config and Security Hub. But I guess it's worth starting with a couple of definitions, John. What are Config and Security Hub, and why might you want to see their output in a centralized dashboard?
Do I need to define that? Could you define that? Hang on. Who's got security specialty?
I have. Okay, I have.
Yeah.
So I have been using AWS config by myself, and that's a great service which you can use for detecting what is compliant and what's not compliant in your AWS infrastructure. For example, the easiest case would be something related to your S3 buckets. It's super fast and super rapid that you will have this many S3 buckets, and you need to have a conformity. You need to them unified. They are set up. So that's why AWS config comes into hand, and you can just use it with the rules to remediate the problems. So, for example, if your S3 bucket is public, then you can do it to remediate, and it will be scanning the whole S3 bucket things and do something with it. Also, AWS config is a very flexible thing because it uses Lambda underneath. So AWS config could trigger the Lambda, which could do something with your infrastructure, which is not typical or not provided by the AWS. I think in the end, AWS config is super powerful service for many things, and especially for compliance and to make your infrastructure a better place, not having the weird configurations or uniform something which should create a different teams. I think for big corporates, for example, who are having different providers, it's super handy to have this kind of AWS config to make everything more uniformed. With the Security Hub is the other service. I haven't been using it personally, and I don't know anyone who was using it, to be honest.
So... We've spoken about it a bit because they came out with some services to help like the insurance sector do with cyber insurance. So we spoke about it a bit on here before, but the short version, I mean, it says it in the article, is it's just a service that gives you a snapshot view of the state of your estate, gives you a score from 0 to 100 for various standards that you've enabled. That's the short version.
I think it also estimates your ranking in terms of security for AWS best practices, which I think together with Trusted Advisor is also great service for the also compliance and checks, and like financial industry. They are super keen on checking their infrastructure all the time and having this periodically. So I think this article shows quite straightforward way actually to make your services, like make your accounts and they are set up for config and for Security Hub to make it in the one dashboard. I think it's pretty cool because like most of the companies, they will have 5, 10, 20, 50 accounts, and they need to have all them unified in one dashboard. I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to the user persona, because I've definitely come across people using Security Hub, but I think it tends to be more your C-level person who's going to want to log in and have a look and go, excuse me, development team, why are we not doing very well in Security Hub? Or well done, development team, we seem to be doing very well. So I think it's more kind of business information that your CISO or your CTO or your CEO is going to be interested in taking a look at to then kind of push back on the development team to say, come on, guys, we need to increase our scores here. What can we do to increase the scores? So,
I think they should add the configuration to use SCS for email sending for the CTOs or CEOs to nudge their team for a low performance. So it will be kind of also alerting you. It's down less than 50. Then you go and send the email.
Why not?
Nudge your development team.
I do take a little bit of an issue with this article, just to bring the note down a little bit, because what they're showing, great to do, definitely go off and build it. Why are we having to build it? Why isn't it a service that exists?
Yeah, I mean, it may well be. And if AWS get that feedback from enough customers, then maybe they will go and build it. And of course, it is on the AWS blog. They're aware of it.
There is definitely a theme of you'll get a blog on here's something you can do, then it'll turn into prescriptive guidance, and then it'll turn into a pre-rolled solution that you can, here's the template, you go and deploy it yourself or work with a partner or hire someone off of IQ because it's kind of a small job, and then it will just turn into something that they that they offer anyway. So there's definitely a theme of that, but every time this sort of thing comes out and says, here's a cool thing you could build, I thought your whole shtick was taking away undifferentiated heavy lifting. There's 2 different Lambdas in here that are going to do the same thing for everyone. Just build it yourself.
Yeah. And I guess if enough people build it, they will. But if nobody wants it, then why bother? So maybe it's a way of testing the water. I don't know. Here's the instructions. Oh, loads of people have taken up the instructions. Therefore, it's popular. Therefore, let's go build.
They can estimate how popular it is by, for example, by stars on GitHub. That's the first thing. The second thing, they can see the forks also. And I think it's important that they give this kind of way that it's not, again, opinionated. I think that's the word of the issue today. So I think they give you kind of freedom to choose your tools or to change something, or if you don't like, what's the language there? Is it using Go or Python? I don't know, like Lambdas. I mean, you can use it in different language if you want, or you can use similar techniques and just improve it. I think they give freedom also. So
I'd rather this than giving money to Splunk. Other large and expensive providers are available, but that's kind of the point, right? I get annoyed that AWS prattle on about taking away the undifferentiated heavy lifting on one hand, and then in their blogs tell you how to do some of the undifferentiated heavy lifting that they said they were going to do. It just doesn't sit right with me. It just never has, never will. But yeah, it's an interesting point. It is, because as we sort of said, there's no guarantee that anyone actually cares. People should care, but there's no guarantee that anyone does.
Yeah, thanks, John, for this pessimistic view, but I think it's good for having the full picture, because maybe retro optimistic, it's good, more freedom, but freedom is more responsibility,
Indeed. So we mentioned Go a couple of times already in this episode, and the next article we have is about how AWS Lambda has deprecated the Go runtime. So does this mean that the Go Gopher has gone?
That's not testing your pop filter, is it? This is a funny one. So the speaker at our last event actually brought this up as well. So it's definitely kind of on the mind of serverless developers. As I understand it, the Go runtime has been deprecated in favor of, what have they called it, provided AL2, which is almost running on bare metal inside the Lambdas, because Go is designed to run on bare metal. It doesn't do well with virtualization. So that kind of feels like what they've done here. People are going to get kind of a bit up in arms and a bit annoyed about it, because they're going to have to redo some of their tooling and redo their build pipelines to an extent. But what they're saying, I mean, the article's kind of quoting it out, as most InfoQ articles do, it just kind of quotes out a whole bunch of other things, is the price performance is getting, a third better. It'll work on Graviton now where it wouldn't before. It aligns with other things that compile down to native code, so it compiles to an executable like Rust and C++. So it's kind of aligning it more with it from an architectural perspective rather than from a preferred runtime perspective, I think.
I think I agree with you, John, with the point about having it on the bare metal. Like, I think it's like Go is created for performance. So I think they try to be aligned with this as with C++ and Rust. And I think this could be beneficial for some people, but for some of the professionals, it would be horrible, as you said, to redo the CI/CDs pipelines and everything. So this comes as contradictory points there, which is in this article, that they are saying that somebody is super happy, somebody is not happy, but in the end, it makes Lambdas faster, which is a great thing. So to reduce the cold starts, to improve the efficiency, I think that's a good sign. But does it mean that they would try to do the same with Python, for example, or any other languages? That's my question. Won't they try to do something similar?
I don't think so, right? Because if you think about Golang, you think about Rust and C++. I try and avoid thinking or talking about Rust, but I've said it about several times now. They compile down to native code, right? You get a binary at the end of it.
Yep.
With Python, you don't. It's a script.
Yes.
It's a script. Same with JavaScript and TypeScript and all the rest of it. They might get transpiled or compiled a little bit, but it's a script at the end of the day. Go, You compile it and you get a binary. Binaries don't sit in virtualization stacks very neatly. So I don't think it's going to happen to something like Python, because even if you run Python on bare metal, you're installing Python and the script is being interpreted by Python. It's no faster doing that than it is running through a Python container, which fundamentally is what Lambda's doing.
I agree, John. I think it's cool that you mentioned this, because I'm just, when we are talking, I'm thinking about Node.js, Python, and for example Ruby, and I think that Python and Node.js are very, very popular, and also Java, of course. And I think the core offering of Lambda functions that you can run Python, JavaScript, and Java without running servers, and that's super cool of it. So you don't need to write as much of an infrastructure code or do Dockers or something like that. And I think they also try to simplify life for themselves in order to support less languages, maybe to improve the older ones, to improve the way how they will be supporting new environments for Node.js, for example, because I have been using Lambdas mostly with Python or JavaScript. I think they are still lacking for maybe TypeScript support better, or using
TypeScript runs
like
in
this.
Node.js, but yeah, the build support is a bit kind of hit and miss, because if you look at something like SAM, ES build will run natively in your template for the Lambda, but if you've got any code or anything in a layer, which I know you're kind of not meant to do that, but obviously everybody does it, you have to write your own makefile and do it yourself. So
Yes.
I mean, there was also a lot of criticism from the community about how long it took to get updated Python support and updated Node.js versions and all the rest of it. So maybe by taking away one of these things, it frees resources up to keep the other environments more up to date more frequently.
Cool. Well, I'm going to make an executive decision now, and I'm going to skip the cloud cost article because we spoke about cost last week, and we're getting short on time. So I'm going to jump straight ahead to our final article for this week.
You mean you're skipping the register?
I'm skipping Reg. Sorry, Reg, but you feature regularly on our podcast, and I'm sure we'll have you back on again sometime soon.
There's going to be a very angry man at your door, no doubt, very soon.
Well, his name's Dan Robinson. I don't think he's any relation, but yeah. Not that I'm aware of, anyway. So I'm skipping straight on to the last article we chose for this week, which is on the AWS Training and Certification blog, and the title is "Seeking a Cloud Job: Stand Out with a Digital Badge from AWS Education Programs." We spoke briefly about your certification track at the beginning. Igor, John, and I both have certifications as well. I think this article is really talking more about the kind of entry level. And in getting people at the kind of, while they're still in full-time education, or while they're looking to switch careers, from a non-technical role into technical. So there's a number of programs that AWS are offering for that. Who would like to talk about it? Either of you want to talk through those?
Yeah, I can come in. The only a couple of things I wanted to pick on here, because I don't necessarily agree with the premise of the article. Yes, training is important. Yes, the US Bureau of Labor and Statistics reckons that in the next kind of 10 years or so, computing and cloud and all the rest of it is going to grow in terms of a sector for employment much faster than everybody else. But we've been saying that for months, and the industry's been saying that for decades. So that's not new. What I disagree with is digital badges being useful, even for kind of early career job switchers and all the rest of it, beyond a nice little, well done, I've done a thing off my own back. Because if I were to go and put, and maybe it's because I'm a senior engineer, but if I was to go and put, I've done the serverless training, here's my digital badge, no one's going to care. No one's going to care.
I think it depends. I think somebody will care. I think that sometimes it could be useful, but also one other thing which I'm thinking about is this: the more badges we have for the achievements in this cloud field, yes, the less they cost, basically. So, for example, 12 certifications means 12 badges. Super cool. Even cloud practitioner was cool. It's now even black, which I really like. I think for business people, it's like looks posh and nice, and kind of classic, like buying Porsche.
You have to update your signature, Carl.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think I did update my signature to the newest versions of the badges. You know me. Yes, I have the black badge in my email signature, John. So I always like to stay current with the latest generation badges and icons. So it should be no surprise to you that I have the correct one in my email signature.
I don't even have an email signature.
I can design one for you if you like.
So I wanted to say that the more we have, the more confusion it will take. So what does it mean, serverless computing badge, for example? Is it a certification? Did you pay for it? Did you go for some authorized training and you checked it with the helpful resources? I mean, for example, what's cool about the certificates? You go and you're controlled. You're doing it in controlled fashion. Of course, there are people who possibly can fake it, but everything could be kind of faked, of course. But I mean, go into the certificates, yeah, you're going to either test center or somebody's controlling you through webcam. So you have kind of assertion. But with this kind of, the more badges we have, for example, okay, education programs, they are good because they are probably done with the mentors and instructors, something like that. Super nice. But for example, with, as you said, serverless computing, what's the value of it? Of course, it's cool now, but like in 5 years, we will have not only serverless computers, but I think already now there are how many of them. Like for object storage, there are 2. For databases, there are 2, and it means that I think it will create confusion. Of course, for people who want to get a job, it would be super great to have serverless computing, database specialty, also some of these education programs. Super nice. But on the other hand, from the hiring manager perspective, it would be harder to distinguish the person who got this by going to certificate or just go into AWS training and certificate portal and just do the serverless computing, which could be done, I don't know, in any place.
Yeah, it's the sort of putting a certificate of completion on your LinkedIn profile or whatever. It's well done, you finished a course. It doesn't mean you actually absorbed anything. You just sat there and listened to it. Yeah. I mean, the article is saying that it has helped people, and helping people is great. But as you say, I do worry that it muddies the waters and blurs the lines a bit between a proctored exam that's hard, because like the pro exams are hard. Not many people have them. It's a challenge to work up to them versus a digital badge that isn't necessarily that difficult to attain. I don't know, maybe it is difficult for a complete newbie, and this is my bias showing through because I've been doing this for years, but it's an interesting one because certainly from a non-technical hiring manager perspective, they're not going to know the difference. Not really.
Yes, that's the point. And also while we're talking about this, I'm thinking that, for example, could we imagine the world where Oxford will have their own digital badge for having master's degree program completed, or some other big
have
university?
been putting their course. MIT have put their courses online for years, but they never offer them as like a certified thing. It's just here's the materials if you want to go learn it, but we're not going to certify you in it.
I think at some point we'll have universities doing the same badges, because badges, it's also like short video clips. They are easy to digest, you know.
Yeah, and as the younger generations are coming through that have been used to earning coins in video games and things like that, then badges, appeal to them. So yeah,
yes. Exactly. So yeah. I think we will have it. I think the AWS and other providers, they are starting this interesting path where we are having no diplomas, but we will have badges. So
lots of badges.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah. I love going to conferences like reInvent where you get the lanyard and then you can just go and collect pins from all the exhibitors. And some people spend all day collecting pins. Their whole lanyard just covered in pins. Not quite the same, but just goes to show that we are a bit like magpies when it comes to, we like shiny things. Let's go and collect shiny things. Anyway, we have come to the end of our time for this week. So it's been a really great discussion. Thank you so much, Igor, for joining us and for sharing your insights. And thank you, John, as always, got it in at the end there, for your insights. That was Season 2, Episode 33 of Logicast, the AWS News Podcast brought to you by Logicata. Check us out. We're on YouTube. We're available to download from wherever you get your podcasts. So please download, listen, and subscribe. We'll be back next week with another episode of Logicast for you. So thank you for listening. See you again next time.